right? So we're going to draw just with lines and circles. You can never practice these things enough. Diagonal, straight, horizontal, vertical, because that's all we're going to do today, right? So what I'm going to show you now is, I don't know if anyone was in my last live. I know one person was. We have to start our image. So for example, if we're drawing a person and you're just drawing someone from the front, I haven't got a ruler. I should get a ruler actually, but it doesn't matter. If we're drawing a person from the front, I'm going to draw the head simply like so. As you can see, it's very simple. At the moment, it's very simple. That's all you need to have, right? So this would be one head. Then we add our shoulders. What I'm going to do is basically build the framework for our person, right? Just the framework. So that means we're just building a skeleton, right? We are roughly talking about 8 heads high. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're looking at 8 heads usually. Sometimes people are shorter, some people are a lot taller, right? So this is kind of a variable rule as well. You don't have to have that. Oh yeah, hit the like button if you like what you see. And if you really like it, please share it. That would be great. And this is being recorded, like all of my videos, they're being recorded and you'll be able to watch it on YouTube. If you're not aware of that, it's called Art Walker on YouTube. So I said 8 heads high. The human body is roughly from head to hips is around 3 heads high, right? So this is where I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. So we're looking at the hips being around here. It varies. This varies a lot by person to person. So this would signify where the hips would be. Is everyone I'm going to make it a little bit more male. I've gone a bit female. I'm going to go male. Make the male hips. So the male hips are slightly narrower. Oh, thank you, Craze Kane. Thank you for the follow and on YouTube. That is really nice. Appreciate that. So now, as I said, we've got one head. Obviously, we would add the neck, right? We add the neck here. And then there's a couple ways, right? You can add the rib cage first. Depends. You've got some people that draw it like an egg shape, like so. Some people draw it as a box. And then they put, say for example, if I draw that as a box, so I'm drawing it as a box shape, slightly wider at the top to emphasize that it's a male. And then I will fit this shape within my box and it slightly narrows towards the bottom. Don't forget that the rib cage concaves like so. It's got an opening here. That's something you have to be aware of, right? This should be running straight down to our hips, which look like a rectangular or more like a funnel shape. Is everyone getting that up until this point? Is everyone getting that? And if you like what you see, please hit the like button. If you really like it, simply share it with your friends and whoever else. Yes, thank you, Loi and Astra. So when you get it and you tell me, that's really good, because then I will keep going. We obviously have here an opening, but as you can see, I'm simplifying everything. I'm making it very, very simple. Wherever you see me draw a circle, that is a joint, like the shoulder joint, for example, right? And I'm going to stick to the framework of this human being, all right? So for example, here, you can see that is what? This line here, what would that be? I'm going to build that out just a touch. Like so, drop it a little bit lower. These two lines here signify the rib cage and the spine at the back. That is something you have to understand. This is at the back, the spine at the back, yeah? How you doing, Deji? Yeah, good, mate, good. Brilliant. There you go. Deji's in the house, right? So realistically, if we draw the rib cage, excuse me, not the rib cage. If we draw, I've lost it now. If we draw the hips like this, in theory, that works, but realistically, the hips look more like that, right? So we would add this. It almost looks like a cut off heart shape, and that would be how the basic human hips look, right? And then, like I said, everywhere you see me draw a circle, that is a joint. So we would have our thigh bone here. How you doing, Watermelon? Had Gramps. I got your text. You did make me laugh, actually. Crystal keeps calling me Gramps. Oh, that's terrible. Makes me feel old. I was thinking about doing a clay piece for my big piece of art. Well, you could do a human. Sydney Opera House. I was there. I've been there. I actually drew it when I was there in 2000. Yeah, it's narrower here, right? It's slightly narrows here, and it gets wider. It's quite an odd shape, and it does bulge out a bit here, right? But I'm not going to get too much into the fine tuning of it, because that's going to get a little bit complicated, even for me, because I don't know. I'm not drawing anatomy for a manual. I just draw it to understand it, if that makes sense. The top. Well, I think, yeah, you're right, actually, because here I should actually make it narrower here and a slightly wider here. That's actually a good point. Here, the egg shape is a little bit truer, I believe, than the box shape. So let's shift that over. I think that was a very good point, actually. I've made that a bit too wide. But when I usually draw the rib cage, I draw it like an egg shape. I find that's a little bit more, it's easier to understand for me. You have to work that one out for yourself. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I've just done it as well. I've just drew it a bit too wide myself here. I drew it a little bit too wide. But I think that's to do with the fact that, I think it's to do with the fact that the shoulders and the chest hide the narrowness of the rib cage, if you understand what I mean. That's what I think. So what we got? One. Right, let's add the rest. Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think that's actually why. Because the chest is quite narrow, as you say. It's probably around here. But the shoulders, yeah, I think you got a good point there. So anyway, let's keep going. So we're going to go down 1, 2. So I need to just do a quick check. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm a bit lower here. Good. So roughly here, that's where we would draw. I'm going to take these in a little bit to the knee, and then the actual shin itself. Yeah, that's exactly the pecs, and obviously we have the muscle that connects actually to the arm. How you doing, Mazzy? So that is probably why people make that mistake, as I just made it pretty much as well. And that's another mistake that I tend to make. I tend to draw the thigh a little bit too straight, because it actually bends inwards like so. but this is it's kind of high level. It's kind of high level, I think. So let's add some more details. So this would be roughly where our elbows would land, just under the rib cage here, and then yeah, I don't know how far we can take this. The forearm has two muscles crossing over, roughly to the top of our thigh. Excuse me, roughly to the top of the thigh, and then we can add the hands. And if you look at your arms, you can measure the size of your hands by putting them actually onto your forearm, and it's roughly two hands, so that it should have two hands roughly here. But this is another variable because everybody has different size hands and shorter, longer, and so on. But just as a quick guide, we can just throw that down like that. So we've now got our rough skeleton for a person that is standing in front of us. Just simply, nothing too fancy. It's halfway down the thigh. Right, I was just going to stand up there. I was literally going to stand up. I'm going to stand up and check that. Yeah, it's about right. It's about here. As you say, it's about there. Let me just check that here. That's not too bad. This one is a bit higher. I've made that one a little bit higher. I'm going to just extend it a bit more. And I'm going to add this. So this is, now we're going a little bit more into proportion, which is good. That all helps, right? So as we've just worked out, I made that a little bit too wide here. But now we have definitely worked out together that it's narrower here. Perfect. This bone bends inwards, even though I wasn't really going to go into that area, but why not indeed? We have two bones in our forearm and they cross like so. That's why I've got this X shape here. But I'm not going to draw that now. That is another totally different live stream. And then, you know what? I don't know how far we're going to go with this now. It's thrown me a little bit because there's so many things that we should actually know. Do we need to know the bones? Do we want to know what the bones look like here? I'm going to ask you guys. Thank you, Brandon. I'm just going to ask you guys. Should we draw the bones or just skip that one? Ask your question. Ask your question. No doubt. Yeah, all right, let's do the bones, yeah? All right. We'll do the bones together. So, I'm going to keep going until you have to imagine here that the spine, obviously it runs back here, right? What's the question? Hold on. Yeah, this is what I mean. This is where it's going to get it's going to go really deep now. We're going to lose a lot of time. I think we're going to lose too much time on the bones. Well, this is what Yonal. Some people say 7.5. Some people say 8. And obviously, it depends on how tall you are. I've got a friend of mine. He's 6'11", but he hasn't got a massive head. Do you know what I mean? So, and I find that if you want to design really dynamic looking characters, maybe you make the legs longer, for example, right? Or if you want to draw a character that looks a bit more like a dwarf, then you have to vary that again. Do you see what I mean? So that's why I don't like to emphasize this 8 heads. And it is true, but it's not 100% for everyone. It doesn't work for everyone. You have to vary it. Good. So all I'll do is I'll touch very quickly on the knee, right? So if we've got our thigh bone here, the knees are going inwards, right? We got our kneecap here, almost looks like a heart shape. So I'm going to add that here, and it connects here to the lower shin, the tibia. We do actually have two bones in our shin. So I'm just going to quickly show part of the second one. And we've got the bigger, more clunky one here. So we'll touch on that very quickly. I'm not going to go into that too much because that would be more like a leg anatomy tutorial, which would be quite cool to do actually. I'd like to do that myself. So now we've got literally our framework for our character or person, human being, right? So we're talking roughly 8 heads high, blah, blah, blah. We've got the bones, which I like to draw. I like to draw the bones as lines. And I like to draw them the way they are, because then when you start to place the muscle, you start to place the muscle in an accurate way on the actual bone. So let's grab another color pen. I'm going to save the red one for the oops, sorry. I'm going to save the red one for the actual muscles themselves, right? If you're new to drawing, you can add simple cylinders, right? And I would recommend anyone to do that, right? And draw this kind of man, I don't know, 100 times. Here I'm going to, because I know the muscle groups, I'm going to make the forearm a little bit wider and narrow it towards the wrist. So that's why I'm making that like that. In the same way that I will make the thigh wider at the top towards the knee. Like so. So as an exercise to get familiar with how the muscles look, you do something like that. We don't have much muscle around the actual knee, so it does get a bit narrower there. And then it juts out again around the calf area. So we add another cylinder that has roughly the same shape as the calf, because then that helps us and it makes our people look a little bit more realistic and not so square. Then we can join the rest of the body. I should have made the hips a bit wider here. And then we add the trunk of the body here. We could actually add the clavicle as well and the collarbone. I'm just going to add that here because that helps us orientate ourselves again, like so. So we've got quite a basic looking human being. As you can see, I'm not getting bogged down in details with regards to whether things are wrong or right. I am just saying, are the legs too long? Well, I don't think they are. I don't think they are. They should be around 4. It depends how tall you are. So if we got 1, 2, 3 to the hip is about right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Should be around 4 to the feet. I don't know. I think it's okay. I've drawn characters with really long legs. Like I've drawn female characters with long legs, and it makes them look a lot more elegant. Do you see what I mean? If this was an image of the Incredible Hulk, you would say that the body is too small. If we're drawing, I don't know, where's that? You could probably look at this and say, well, the back is too wide. But yeah, you could. But maybe I wanted it that way. But I really wouldn't go too deep into that. If that's okay. Can that, sorry, I'm just going to read what you said, Crystal. Can that apply to, well, pretty much, I think well, they're interchangeable, but the main difference between the female and the male is the actual hips themselves, right? The female hips are a lot wider and higher. So you have that more feminine form. The male hip is a lot straighter and I suppose narrower and straighter. You see that? That is more like a female hip. Would you not agree? And this male would be more, it would be a lot straighter. How you doing, Jamal? And Commie, nice to see you. Thank you, Zion, for saying the proportions are okay. I think they're okay. I think they're okay. As I said, we can vary it if we have to. We can take it to extremes. I've done that before. I've drawn Batman characters and I've taken them to real extremes. And this for me is kind of a standard body size. I think it's kind of standard. They are. Good. I'm good, thank you. I'm good. So let's get a little bit into the muscles. Let's get into the muscles. That's my favorite part of it. So we've got a separation between our chest here, right in the middle here. All right. As I said, don't ask me the muscles because I don't know them. I don't know all of them. I know a few of them, right? But this is how you can build it up. This is how you can build up from using cylinders. Or sorry, frame. We have our blue frame. And then we can add our cylinders and our muscles on top of that. Right? So I'm going to try and find a quick example here. A good one. Just give me a moment. Right. So what I do when I practice. There you go. Oh, this is a good example, actually. This is our goal, right? You can go really, really detailed. This is not really, really well drawn. I drew it very quickly, right? But you can go quite detailed. Go to your level where you add your cylinders and spheres. Then you can start adding muscle detail. But as you can see here, I've avoided a lot of detail here. I've just drawn a circle for the elbow here. Do you see what I'm saying? I haven't added all of these intricacies. I did twist the muscle, the bone here in the forearm, because that helps me identify where the muscles belong when I'm actually drawing the muscles on the forearm. That's why you should do that. Thank you, Dom. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. If you like what you see, please hit the like button. All right? So this is what and when I don't know, it depends, because some people don't like the way I draw things and sketch things. My drawings are very, what's the word? Energetic, I would say. I would say energetic, right? It's an evolving thing. All right? As you can see, I use the pen. I can't erase anything, right? So when I draw, especially the body, they end up looking like this. They end up looking really crazy. DG, how you doing? And Vels. Cheers, mate. I know that's all good. That's all good. I'm gonna keep going anyway. Yeah. I don't know, mate. I don't. You know, at the end of the day, we're all learning, right? This is something I tell my students this all the time. We are all learning, right? So if you can't, I could look at every single drawing that I've done and find a mistake on it. Every single thing. Everything, right? But at the end of the day, it's how you keep moving from those mistakes, because the mistakes are part of your learning curve. That's what you have to understand. Ah, yeah, you saw it. Yeah. I might do a couple more of those, right? So going back to the body that we're now getting back into drawing, right? We can look at it like this. You can see there's a cool position, right? And you could probably say, oh, well, her hips are too big. You could probably say a torso's too long, but it's an evolving process, right? At least it looks like a cool drawing. It's got the right energy. Like for example, the muscles are in the right place. They're bending nicely. Do you see what I mean? I think when you're learning something, you shouldn't get locked into perfection too early. Right? Don't get locked into perfection. Get locked into practicing it. Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't do comics. No, I don't draw comics. I just like to draw, actually. I've never drawn a comic in my life. Never drawn one. Good. Well, keep going. We're all still learning, right? So let's get into the chest. I'm going to leave this here. It might help me a little bit. I'm going to cheat a little bit. Right. So the chest. Let's do the chest. So the chest, as I said, it has a separation in the middle, right? Don't ask me the distance because I don't really know, right? And then we have the chest muscle, and I know it connects to our shoulder, to our upper arm here, right? It depends how you want to do this. Some people bend it like this, and then that gives it that dome effect, right? So we've got our dome effect because you have to remember that the rib cage is literally like a dome, right? If that's the rib cage, the muscle has to follow it. Yeah? So if this is the center of our rib cage here, the muscle follows around that. So don't forget that. If you draw a straight line there, it's going to flatten it. So now we've got our chest curving, maybe from here around to here. How much detail do you want to go into? That's up to you. You have to work that one out for yourself, right? We see a little bit of the lower part of the chest here, like so. That we can, later on, we can hatch that up. But that's where we have this connection between the chest, the upper arm, and the clavicle here. And it literally looks something like that. Is everyone getting that? So that's why when you lift your arm up, your chest goes with it, right? And then obviously we add the shoulder here. Just like that. You see, so this is connected to here. So when we lift our arm up, it stretches the chest. Like so. Connection, and also here connected again. Everybody getting that, right? So we got a shoulder, like so. Then we would add our bicep. Add our bicep like that. Bicep is obviously connected to our lower forearm, so we can just stretch that. We do also have some muscles connected from here. I'm not going to name them because I can't name them. I really don't. I know that we've got the tricep obviously here. And there's a muscle behind, just at the top of the tricep. So this gives us an idea. We just need to know roughly where everything is. Because I only know how to draw them. I didn't memorize them, right? So I apologize for that. And as you can see, the neck, we connect the neck. We add our shoulder muscles. And this is how I would gradually build. Let's add our oblique muscles. Like so. So these are our obliques, right? Going down to the abdominal or the hip area. I tend to kind of ignore these muscles here because I don't really know know the names of them. Here we would actually see, depending on the person, how muscular they are, we would actually see the back, the lats at the back here. It's getting a bit messy at the top here. That's why I don't like to work too small. When I work too small, it gets a bit scrappy. And then, like I said, we got the thickening of the forearm here, and it narrows towards the wrist here. And now we've got a fuller figure with the male. We can add that. Let's just add the ears quickly so it doesn't look as scrappy. And this is the kind of thing I do quite a lot. I practice like that quite a lot. I just draw random figures and I play around with, let me change this line. Let me see how it changes the body. Here, let me change this line. Let's bend it that way. The spine, you know? And I practice this a lot. I could honestly say that, yeah, this is probably a little bit too long. But for me, practice sheets, you know, maybe I should practice more on proportion, if anything. But some of them are right and some of them are half right. That one's not there. So let's see what's going on in the chat quickly. Oh, I've got tons of gifts. Thank you very much for the gifts. Has anyone got any questions about what we did with the upper body? We could add a few more forearm muscles, but that is, then it gets too deep. I think it's going to get too deep too fast. Thank you for sharing, by the way, to all those that have shared. And then we can slowly now go on to the knee area and the thigh area. And as you can see, I'm not looking at a reference image, right? So I'm trying to go from memory. I always draw sometimes from memory purely because I want to test myself. And when you test yourself, then you start thinking, oh yeah, I've got that one, or oh yeah, I forgot that one, which is all part of your growth process, right? Inner thigh here, we got the knee. Yeah, there you go. We got this muscle on the inside of the knee. And then we've got the inside of the thigh. Like so. Good. We don't see much muscle here because the shin is quite a broad muscle here. But we do have muscle that comes like so. And then we see some of the calf. Like so. A little bit of the calf here, and then we can add a bit more of the thigh. So there you go. I'm going to pause the action quickly and see if anyone's got anything to say about that. So, I'll just say I need a mouse mat. I need a mouse mat because my mouse is not working on my table. So, let's see. Any questions about that? Have I missed any questions? Hold on, let me just scroll down a bit quickly. These are really good. No, I did a little bit of digital art, but I don't do it anymore because I don't like to use packages. I like to use pens. Oh yeah, I did read that question before, excuse me. Okay, good. Thank you for the kind gifts, everyone. Do I sell books? I wish I had one. No, I don't sell books. No, I don't. Unfortunately, I've never managed to publish a book. I've never even thought of doing it, to be honest. So maybe one day, who knows? At the moment, all I'm doing is live streams, and I've done quite a few now. I've only been doing this for 10 months, maybe 10 months. So it's quite new to me. How you doing, Kim? Hope you're having a good weekend. Yes, I will be uploading this onto YouTube. Yeah, I've got a couple to upload today. I'll probably do them later on today or even tomorrow, because earlier on we did a facial proportion live stream. So we talked about aligning the face and using guidelines to help you if you struggle with that. So I'll be posting that one also as well. So it was quite a good one. Has anyone got any questions about what we've done here? You can get better than me. This is very scrappy, if I'm honest. But unfortunately, when I'm online, when I draw live, I always tend to rush it because I know people don't really have a very, very long attention span. So I tend to rush the drawing work and it gets a little bit messy. I should slow down, actually. I don't really have to do it that quickly. But when I do draw something precisely, so when the cameras are not on, and I'm drawing, well, this one was actually done in a live anyway. I don't even know what I'm talking about. But if I draw, I draw like this. And that's where I'm taking my time and breaking it down and so on. So just bear that in mind. When you see this mess, it's not the same as that. It's a totally different environment. And I'm trying to squeeze everything in. Into an hour. And that's why it gets a little bit messy. But when I do draw, where's that other one? The leg one that I had. Yeah, that one. I think this was an alive as well, actually. That's what, when I draw anatomy stage by stage, I draw it like that. Just to defend myself here. Just to defend myself, because it does look a bit like, what is this guy doing? But this is a speed sketch for learning purposes. But then this is a more artistic interpretation. Just to clarify that point. Good. Okay, let's look at the chat quickly. Thank you very much. Oh, that's nice, Dan. That is really nice to say that. Appreciate that. And Presh, thank you, Presh. I hope to make you guys talented as well, right? So that's why I do it for free. Practice makes perfect. And I am practicing a lot. And I'm just trying to teach you guys what I know. I don't know everything. Probably don't teach it the best possible way. But if you've got the desire to learn, you can learn from even me. You can even learn from me. So, quickly, we haven't done the abdominals yet. And if anyone's got any questions, you can ask. You may ask. Just put that away quickly. Oops. And like I said, I do sheets like this all the time. I draw things like this all the time. As you can see here, under here, you can see the bone. I've actually drawn the bone here. I'll just highlight it in red. You can see I've highlighted the bone here. You don't need to know that, but if you want to learn how to draw the human body properly, I would recommend that you understand that. Just understand it. Do I know? Oh, how you doing, Nelsie? How you doing? How long did it take you to become so good? Many, many hours, many, many hours. And I don't believe I'm at my best yet. Excuse me. I know I've got, the best is yet to come. I believe, give me another year. Give me another year and I will be I think I'll be a totally different beast. I'm just going to quickly finish off these abdominals very, very quickly. And then I'll show you again how to draw them a little bit more accurately later on. So, what about a woman? Like someone pointed out earlier on, if you're drawing a female, right, the rib cage is usually, you have to be so careful nowadays what you say. The rib cage is usually narrower. The male rib cage is wider and heavier and bulkier. So it's more like this. And the female is slightly narrower and softer. I don't want to upset anyone, but it's just the way it is. And it's actually shorter as well. So the males is quite a heavy looking unit, if you understand what I mean. And then with regards to the hips, the male hips are narrower and shorter, and the female hips are wider and higher. That's what you have to understand. And if we finish this off, you can automatically see that it has that female curve to it. You can see that. If I'm allowed to say if I'm allowed to say that. Oh Lord, you never know. You never know who you're gonna upset. I remember once, mate, that was so funny. I was drawing just a female body, different body shapes, right? And this someone joined the live, and I don't know, it must have been someone angry with purple hair or something. And they said, "I know what you're about." And I was like, "What?" I was just drawing women. I was just literally, it was so, you were there, Kim, weren't you? It was so funny. She said, "I know what you're about." And I was like, "Oh, right, I'm just drawing bodies actually, but yeah, never mind." Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it, Chell? It's absolutely terrible, mate. Absolutely terrible. But, yeah, that's why I always put a disclaimer there because I'm always a bit walking on eggshells, which is really boring. So there you go. Anyone got any specific questions? Do you have any tips for drawing with big biros? I think you asked me that question before and I forgot to answer it. I apologize if you did ask that question. I think I did see it. So my apologies. The reason I use the Bic, and I'll give you some tips on how I use them, right? The reason I use them is because I find that they're very good actually. You see, you can't smudge it. You can. My tip for using the Bic is that you have to you have to be cognizant with regards to how hard you're pressing. So if I draw a line and I press quite hard, you get a very thick, I say thick, but it's a very what's the word? Not stable. It's very consistent line. But then if you start to flick it like that, you can get very, very nuanced levels of hatching just with that. And for me, if you want to build your confidence with drawing, just draw with the Bic because you cannot rub it out. That is important, right? Like here, I can't rub any of this out. I have to live with every mistake that I've made on here. But if you keep soldiering on through it, at some point, if I was to draw this, it doesn't matter. If I was to draw this leg again, right? If I'm drawing that leg again, and I want to draw it properly, right? This is how I would draw it. I'm just giving you a quick example, right? I'm going to go without any guidelines. I'm just going to draw a male leg. And as you can see, the level of detail and the muscles are all in the right place, right? So I'm just literally just drawing a male leg. And that's how I would sketch. The male leg, right? So this is where you have to literally go very light, not like me butchering the pen. Don't do it that way, because I tend to do that when I'm interacting, right? So that's the problem with me. I get a little bit I think it's because not stressed, but I'm under pressure, so I kind of press a bit harder and stuff like that. But if you really want to practice with the pen, practice with it every day and learn to live with all of them little mistakes. Well, you get to the point where you do it quite well anyway, but you just ignore the mistakes and you just keep going. You just keep going. You just keep going. I see. I see you're from Argentina. Really? Where where does he see that? That's too funny. Oh, really? I've never used a graphite. That's interesting. Graphite experience, even though. Okay. Very interesting. Didn't know that. I didn't know that. Well, this is what I said earlier on with regards to the 8 heads, the 7.5 heads, and da da da. This is what I don't really like getting into that discussion because everybody is totally different. As I said, I've got a friend. He's 6 foot. He's like 2 meters 13 or something. He's massive, right? But he's still got the same size head as myself. But he's got really, really long limbs. So if you're drawing someone with a shorter person, you just reduce everything. You just reduce everything. Simple as that. There's certain rules that they're in place, but you have to kind of forget them after a while because everybody is totally different. We've all got the same geometry, We've got our spine, we've got our head height, we've got shoulder width, and so on. But we're all very, very different. Obviously, due to body weight, body fat, muscle mass, blah blah. It's complicated. For me, if you're drawing a shorter person, you just shorten the limbs. If you're drawing a taller person, you just stretch the limbs. Because the height is usually in the legs. The height comes from the legs. It doesn't come from anything else, really. You hardly ever see anyone with a really, really, really long torso. But chances are you see people with you got to go, yeah, go for it, mate. You see people with very, very long arms and legs. You go and have a good ride, mate. That's what I need to do. Some training. What's the time now? Oh, yeah, nearly. I'm gonna keep going for another 15 or so minutes. How long have you been drawing? I've been drawing for about 11 months. Seriously, the extra lines give it more energy. Yeah, that's for sure. And obviously, I do draw with the pencil as well. Let me try for. And it's a totally different experience, right? This is a little bit over the top, this image, but you can see it's like another tool. You could make a wide dwarf with a small head. 100%. That's down to you. Obviously, it's like when you go to, if you see some animation studios, they draw people with really, really long legs, right? Really, really long legs, really angular faces. It doesn't matter. It's still a style of animation. And they consider these people, but it's fine. It depends what you want from your art. No, we're not done with the drawing. No. Any questions about it? We're not done with the drawing. So basically what we have here is there without all the detail. And then we can add some cool hatching. And then we've got a nice looking image. See? But this just gives us a foundation. So when we draw legs, if I draw a leg, I know roughly where the muscle, the thigh muscle belongs. I know roughly where they meet, where it creases, and then I can add all kinds of details to it. So that's why it's important to understand that. Is everyone kind of clear on that? The back of the legs, I'm not going to do the back now because that's going to take me at least another hour easily, because the back is really complex. The back of the legs look something like this. And if you are drawing if you're drawing legs, you don't draw legs like this. Too much detail. And that's like almost someone skinless, right? So if you're drawing the back of the leg, you could still draw, like I like to draw the bone, right? And then you draw the lower part of the shin. I've just run out of space. Doesn't matter. It will keep going. And then you have to add your calf muscle. I've run out of space. I apologize. And then you won't add much more detail to it than that. I'm not going to add any more detail there because someone's going to start talking nonsense. See what I mean? So you can just draw the back of the leg like that. You don't have to add all of the muscles. Maybe you can emphasize the calf a bit more. And then you have this kind of diamond shape here. And obviously, I don't know what they would be wearing. So maybe that would also be a little bit too much information. But the back of the leg is pretty much... You have to just imagine the back of the leg and the front of the leg look the same. If that's the shape of your leg from the front, then that shape would be the same from the back. So let's add some quick details of the details from the front. And then let's add some details of that leg from the back. There's not a huge, excuse me. It's not a huge difference. See, that's from the back. That's from the front. Has anyone else got any questions? Did that help you, actually? And if you like what you see, please hit the like button. Like so. There you go. You're welcome. You're welcome. And like I said, think of before you draw anything, simplify it, right? So if we've got this arm here, and when I say simplify, I mean literally simplify. See? That is a simplified version. Slightly, obviously, it's a different angle and it's slightly bent, right? So this hand is like that, right? But this is a simplified version of an arm. Once you understand how the arm works, then you just simply add your details to it. And your details would be obviously your muscles and then your fingers and so on. Because we don't need masses of detail, do we really? Bye-bye. Have a good one. I'm going to be finishing myself soon. How much do I every day? Good question. Probably 4 hours a day minimum. Yeah, about 4 easily. Because I don't watch TV. So even if I wasn't drawing this, if I wasn't online with you guys, I'd probably still be drawing. I would probably be finishing off. Where is she gone? I started a young lady yesterday. And I was planning on finishing her and posting her. She's hiding now. I can't find her. I'll have to look for her later on. Oh, that's good, mate. Widley free diddly. That's good, mate. I appreciate that. I hope you're learning something from it. And thank you for your support. I appreciate it. And please inform your friends and stuff like that. That would be great. And last tip of the day, right? Last tip of the day. When I say simplify, I mean I've done this in other live streams. As you saw me do earlier on, I start things cylindrically. Right? This helps you when, say, for example, you want to draw a thigh that is directly in front of you. Do you see what I mean? Because then we have the knee here, calf here. You see that? You have to imagine, like I drew here, the thigh looks like this. The knee is roughly here. Then we have our joint, and then we have another cylinder under here. Right? So if you lift this knee upwards, imagine that's here, the hip here. So you lift that knee upwards, that knee goes upwards that way. So that means this circle at the back here would be here. This circle here would be here. And then the kneecap would be here. So this is like a quick lesson on foreshortening. So this leg has raised up and now the knee is here at the front. You got that? So that's what you have to do. That's what you have to do. Practice that with the arm and the legs. Vary the position. The same cylinder here. This one here, let's call it number one. Number one. So let's draw that one again from the side. Let's draw cylinder number 2 here underneath. And then we'll add the foot here. So now we've just built a wireframe. Excuse me, we've just built a frame for a leg on the side. We had it here from the front. And now we've got it from the side. So, we are in our last 2 minutes, because I'm just gone over an hour. And I'm going to ask anyone, if anyone's got any questions, quickly. I will do my best to answer them. And then if not, I will wish you all a lovely Sunday.